Welcome to iOS Development Tips and Tricks course. My name is Andy. In this lecture, we're going to display a record in Tableview, but instead of using Tableview we're going to create our Tableview inside a UIViewController. So I have a starter project called My Movies, and we're going to get the source of our data from movies.json. And this movie.json basically consisting of array of movie with name, rating, and format information. And the data is being extracted when the app is loaded the first time. So in app delegate, we have upload sample data, which is basically extracting that movies.json and put it in the array of movies object. And then after we get the array from the movies.json, we're going to need to pass in this movies array to our view controller. So let's head to the view controller, and I'm going to create our movie array. So for movies, this is going to be the type of movie. And now we can pass in from our app delegates to our movie controller. So we're going to create the reference to our view controller. So it's going to be just self window dot root view controller as view controller. Now that we get the reference to our view controller, we can pass in our movies array to the one in the view controller. So view controllers movies equal movies. Alright, so we got our data source set. Now let's go to the main storyboard. So maybe for some reason you won't be able to use the table view controller. Maybe you want to create a segmented control. So let's do that actually. Let's open the utilities window. And I'm going to search in the object library for segmented control. I'm going to drag it. And then let's bring in our table view. So let me make some room by closing this document outline. So drag the table view, not the table view controller, but just the table view to our scene. And then I'm going to set some auto layout. So first let's do for the segmented control. And it's going to be center on the screen. And then control, click and drag to our main view. And then click vertical spacing. Now I'm going to control click from table view to the segmented control. And select vertical spacing. And I'm going to set the auto layout for the rest of the constraint for our table view. So I'm going to pin it down to all the way to the left, then all the way to the right, and then all the way to the bottom. Then add 3 constraint. And we just need to do update frame for our table view. So it's going to be stretched out all the way to the bottom, left and right. Next, let's bring the table view cell. So from the object library, drag the table view cell to our table view. And then after we drag the prototype cell, let's set the identifier. Just going to call it cell movie. And then for the cell itself, for the style, I'm just going to set the basic. For right now, we're only going to display the name of the movie. And then let's do some setup for our segmented control. So for the first one, the title, I'm going to set it to DVD. And then on the second one, I'm going to set it to Blu-ray. And then there is a bit of auto layout changes that needs to be made. So just click on the segmented and set the update frame. And then next we want to set the table view data source and table view delegate to our UIViewController. So click on the table view area, press Control button and click and bring it to the view controller and set the data source. And then do exactly one more time. And now we're going to select the delegate. Just to make sure everything set correctly, click on the connection inspector. And then you should see the data source and the delegate assigned to the view controller. And now we're going to set the action for our segmented control. So open the assistant editor. And then I'm going to click and then drag to the UIViewController. And I'm going to set the connection to action. And the name is segmented action. And the object is UI segmented control. And click connect. And then we also want to set the connection between our table view and UIViewController. So click from the table view area, control, click and drag. And I'm just going to put it below the movies array. And call this table view and connect. Now let's close the assistant editor and open the view controller. And let me make some room by closing this utilities window. Now we will need to implement the UI table view data source and UI table view delegate in our view controller. So I'm going to call UI table view data source and UI table view delegate. Now, as soon as you do this, Xcode will complain because we need to implement a protocol to conform with this data source and delegate. So let's do that right now. First, I'm going to set the number of sections for our table view. So number of sections in table view. And we're only going to have one section. And then the next thing is we want to set the number of rows. So we're going to call table view, and then we're going to set number of rows in section. And then for number of rows is going to depend how many movies that we're going to have. But since we're going to display the movie based on the format, we need to first get the data of which movie format that we want to display. So the movie format, if we open the movies.json, it has either Blu-ray or DVD. So let's do the filter for that. So back to our view controller. And I'm going to set for the default. So the selected format, I'm going to set it to DVD. And then when we load the app the first time, I'm going to call load data function, which we're going to create. And then let's create the load data. So we're going to filter on our movies array based on the selected format. So I'm going to loop on our movies array. So for movie in movies, and we're going to loop only for the movie that match the selected format. So I'm going to use where movie dot format equal the selected format. And we will need to put the selected movie into a movie that we're going to display. So I'm going to create a second array. So movies to display. It will have the same type as the movies array. And then back in our for loops, we can assign the movie object to movies to display. Then append movie. And now back to our number of rows. Now we can assign movies to display dot count. And the next function that we need to implement for our table view is the cell photo at index path. And in here we're going to create our cell, which is cell table view dot dq cell with identifier, and the identifier that we set earlier is cell movie, and index path is the index path. Now we need to get the movie in the movies to display array. So movies to display, and then we're going to pass in our index path dot row. And now we can assign the name of the movie to our cell. So cell dot text label dot text equal movie dot name. Then we're going to return the cell. Oh, back in our number of rows, we need to return the count. And the last thing that we need to do is on our segmented action. So when user select either DVD or Blu-ray format, we need to reload the data based on the format selection. We need to capture the selected format. So it's going to be sender, the title for segment at index. So the title for segment at index will return either the DVD or the Blu-ray. And segment at index is going to be sender selected segment at index. Then we need to unwrap this. And after this, we need to load the data again. And we can either set the table view reload here or in the load data. So I'm just going to call this in the table view dot reload data. Let's double check real quick that the title for segment at index matching the one that we got from the movies.json. So in movies.json we got blue-ray and DVD. So let's double check on our segment at index. Let's open the utilities window, click on the segmented control and go to the identity inspector. So we got blue-ray and the other one we got, oh, we haven't set the first one, so DVD. So let me make sure DVD and blue-ray. Alright, so now I think we're ready to run our project. So let me select iPhone 6s. So let's build and run this. So looks like we have some issue here. Let's check what's going on. So unexpected found in, oh, let's declare this as an empty array. And then now that we set that as an empty array, it reminds me that when we load the data, every time the user select a new segmented control, like either Blu-ray or DVD, we need to reset that movies to display to an empty array. So movies to display, we're going to call remove all. So it's going to reset the content of movies to display, and then it's going to display the new list based on the format being selected. So let's try this again. So build and run it. So now we got the collection. For the DVD, we got Batman, Pixar, Terminator, and Star Trek. Let's cross-check with our movies.json. And let me bring in the simulator again. So the DVD, let's double check. We got DVD, Batman Collection, Ultimate Pixar, Disney Pixar. And then the next one is the Terminator and the Star Trek. Now let's select the Blu-ray. We got Star Wars, X-Men, and so on. So it looks like everything works correctly. So that's how we can set the table view inside the UIViewController.